back to another review from your dynamic duo. I am Pat Casey, and with me, as always,
Clayton Samuelson.
Hey guys, my Steve Trevor.
I gotta hide my junk in front of you.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Well, welcome back to another review, and this time we have come back and have seen Wonder Woman, the latest DC movie studios.
I believe the word you're looking for is universe. Patrick.
Universe, right. Thank you. I'm still thinking about that junk that you're hiding. Yeah, the latest DC Cinematic Universes movie. It's no surprise here that we've had sort of a rocky relationship at best with the DCEU.
Both personally and professionally. But
yes, very, very bad. So it started out with Man of Steel, which I think was probably before Wonder Woman was at its height. So that was the best that we could have gotten was Man of Steel. That was up here. Then Batman v Superman, and it kind of went down here.
Yeah.
Then Suicide Squad, which really bottomed out. Now
you're going way down there, just way down.
Now we're only talking for these purposes for like quality of film, because they all have made substantial money to keep DCEU afloat. Unfortunately, correct. So then Wonder Woman was kind of looked at as this savior.
The golden child.
Right.
Because we both know our big gripe with a lot of these films has been the one and only Zack Snyder.
Correct.
And this was going to be the first film that he really had nothing to do with.
He cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman for BVS.
Right.
So they had his fingerprints on there, and he is an executive producer. This was sort of... I would say that this is probably the last film in what they originally had planned before the massive shift. So they after BBS came out and people were like, this is too dark, this is too terrible, we need to kind of do a course correction. Mm-hmm. This was already in the works and was already filmed, I believe. It's kind of tentative on what
it was definitely deep in production.
Right. There was a change of directors during Wonder Woman. Originally, Patty Jenkins was not the original person. It was Michelle McLaren, who you might know from amazing TV work. She did probably some of the best episodes of Breaking Bad. She did amazing work on Game of Thrones. And left the project. Patty Jenkins joined. She formerly has done things like Monster.
So what we're getting at is Wonder Woman had a lot to live up to. Right.
And it's sort of the troubled history of the DCEU kind of followed it into production. Mm-hmm. I guess the bright spots were that Gal Gadot was the highlight for many people of BVS.
What was the best part?
Right. And now she was getting her own movie. So with that big wind-up, is this the savior of the DCEU? That'll be my first question to you. And part two, does this live up to... I mean, Wonder Woman's a huge property, and this is the first time that she's gotten...
big screen time.
Right. Besides her TV show, the Linda Carter TV show, like, this is her big moment.
Right. The first question is a tough one. This film does so much to stand out on its own. It's in a totally different time period. It's in a totally different place. Mm-hmm. And nobody else is in it.
Right.
There's some brief stuff right at the beginning, but you don't even see it.
It's like a framing device.
Yes, it's a framing device. It is pure Wonder Woman.
Right.
It does not have the baggage of Superman or Batman, nor trying to do anything to set up Justice League. This is Wonder Woman. This is her origin. Does it save the universe? No. It doesn't make up for past sins. But the second question, does this movie do a good job in giving us Wonder Woman, absolutely.
Oh yes, yes,
Absolutely.
I think the smartest thing they did was to completely divorce it from any of the BVS Man of Steel threads.
Yeah.
So, being that they said it in the past, I mean, besides the one framing device, in the beginning and the end, sort of the bookends of the film, there's no other superhero mentioned.
Nope.
They don't exist. So the movie takes place in a time, I guess, thematically in the DCEU canon where there were no superheroes.
We don't know a lot yet.
Right, because according to Man of Steel, Superman is sort of the first hero.
Yeah.
He's the first one that people know about and on a wide scale.
Okay.
I mean, they talk about Batman being sort of like a myth. They don't really like bring it up, but he's had a whole back history. But this is you don't hear anything else mentioned.
And I really appreciated
yes,
that because we do need to get it out there. This is the first major female superhero movie of this time. You could fight for Catwoman back in the early aughts and everything like that, but in this recent go since Iron Man, this is the first major heroine movie, and
it's the first time that the DCEU has beaten Marvel to
something. Yeah,
yes.
And good on them.
Right.
I thought they did a great job with that.
Yes.
So leading into that, what did you think of Gal Gadot in her own movie?
Well, her and her relationship with Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, really make this a very memorable movie.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the best correlation between this movie and another superhero movie that you might have seen is Captain America: First Avenger.
Yeah, I mean, you've got similar. It's obviously similar time, similar theme.
Yep. It is,
and at that point, the heroes are very similar.
Right. It is very similar in the fact that in both cases, I feel, a fairly average movie becomes more than that based solely on the lead performance and the romantic sort of tension in the film. Like, the reason why you like Captain America: The First Avenger more than maybe the Iron Man would be because you really like Captain America, you really like that performance, and Haley Atwell. Like, the two of them really stand out, right? So in this movie, it's a similar thing where Gal Gadot is fantastic.
Yeah.
She far exceeds anything that you could have ever,
She does a great job, again, to Captain America, a person out of time. They did a great job setting up in the movie. She's not wholly naive, but she still has fun experiencing the new things of the outside world.
She is ready to throw down at a moment's notice, but she is kind of a babe in the wilderness of this modern world.
Well, babe in the wilderness with a sword attached to her.
Ready. But she's she looks around at things and is not a spoiler to say that she gets ice cream for the first time. She's never had that before, and her just experience with that's
actually a fun callback to the comics long ago, and it was just little things like that were great.
There are little nods to other superhero films in the past. There are scenes that let me remember the joys of Superman, the original Dick Donner Superman.
Same shots and stuff that. Yeah.
So, and it's really interesting for me to say this, but she is the perfect Superman.
Yeah.
She is exactly what Superman should have been in all of his incarnations. She cares about people. She's ready. She's not unwilling to fight, I would say. She's ready to go when she needs to go, but her instincts are, I need to protect people, and you're gonna tell me that I can't protect these people. Watch me protect these people.
Right.
You know, like that is sort of her thrust. And in a DCEU, which includes Superman,
right,
it is such a breath of fresh air to have a superhero that enjoys being a superhero. Like, she's cool with being. It's not this whole thing of, oh man, I don't want to be Batman. I don't want to be Superman.
The best way to look at it, I think, is this is a hero who happens to be super, not somebody who is super that just happens to be a hero.
Or doesn't even want to be a hero. You know, like, the majority of these DC... Now, Suicide Squad's a little different because it's a villain sort of thing, so I'm not even going to include that. Sure. But, like, the two other DCEU movies are so preoccupied with, I don't know how to do this, and I don't know if I really want this.
Pain.
Exactly. Wonder Woman is all about helping people and doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Okay. So, that right thing to do included a fair amount of action, I would say.
Right.
What did you think of the action of these movies? Because Wonder Woman's powers and abilities are in a weird middle area. She's a great warrior because she's good with, like, archery, swords, and shields and stuff like that, but she still has that super strength to her. How do you think that came through the film?
Now, I was a little bit confused as to whether or not her power set was there, if that's like a normal Amazon power set, or if it is there because of her backstory, which is kind of I guess the main mystery of the movie is where she came from. But I think that they did a good job. The action scenes were filmed competently. Like, I could tell what was going on.
Lots of very good trailer shots.
Yeah.
Like, very impactful. Ooh,
I don't know if I like this. They're still kind of leaned into a little bit of the Snyder action scene, which is to say that they're speed ramping, so like it slows down. So when there's like a knockout punch, it'll slow down so you can see it. Which I honestly like. I watched the video of the stunt people doing like basically practicing. There was no need to slow that down. I could see everything that was going on, and these like stunt people were amazing. And I kind of wish that they would have just let that happen and just filmed fight scenes. You know what I mean? Not having to do the speed ramping up and speed ramping down. That said, it is competently shot. There is one action scene on the beaches of Themyscira. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did. Very good.
That I think stands out. I think that's the best action scene of the movie.
I thought the best one was the one in the middle. I don't want to give too much away. You saw a lot of the Themyscira stuff in the trailers. But
yeah, that's fine. The one that you're talking about is fine. You've seen it in the trailers.
I was never let down during the course of the film. I thought everything carried and it was either good or really good.
Right. Yeah, I think it's, like I said, very competently shot. It wasn't like confusing where I was like, I don't know what's happening.
My only irk with that is at some points it was really dark.
Yeah.
I'm not talking grim dark. Like literally, they took the brightness level and just turned it down a little.
Well, there was a lot of. You could tell there's a lot of day for night shots. So I don't know if that is the case. If that's the case, that the movie theater that when we watched it, it was just not properly lit, or if it was the actual movie itself. But there were some scenes that were not shot. Or that were a little obscured.
Yeah.
This also has the common... So this does come with problems. I thought some of the dialogue was a little meh.
For some of the weaker characters, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that this has a major villain problem. Yet again, I can't think of the last time that we've had a comic book movie where the villain isn't just total garbage.
This wasn't total garbage, but it wasn't... You really like your Joker. You really like your Batman. I'm saying you really like them. And it was serviceable, and at parts I thought it definitely developed the character a little bit more.
I have to completely disagree with you.
Then.
I feel like the villains didn't have enough time. Their motivations were very muddled. There's sort of a play. I'm trying to do this without throwing a twist, giving up the twist. But there's a play at. She's trying to find the God of War, and there's a play at who the God of War is. And I feel like instead of doing that, trying to figure out who the God of War is, they could have just been like, "This is it," and that would have probably added a lot more. Like if I would have been there from the beginning with this, with Ares, his motivations and stuff like are just kind of stated at the end instead of it being like a constant through line through the movie. The minor villains, there's like they have Dr. Poison in this. Who
is a classic Wonder Woman.
Right, she's fine, but like she doesn't really add anything to the plot, nor does she take away anything from the plot. She's just kind of there to be there. She's standard like Scarecrow or Marvel villain. There's no other side of the coin here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think for an introduction to the character of Wonder Woman, the villains did what they needed to, because you bring more villainy into later films, because that's what helps develop and be a foil to your hero.
Sure.
And I don't think this really needed that much more. The beginning of Wonder Woman's journey did more than enough to develop the character.
I agree. I mean, it doesn't destroy the movie for me, but I do feel like, yet again, we're stuck with this situation where I won't say that it's a dark elf Malekith issue,
no,
but it's certainly in that ballpark where it's like, come on, like this guy is. It's sort of like a lower tier Jeff Bridges villain from the first Iron Man.
Okay. So, any last pros or cons you want to throw out there before we wrap up here?
Besides like I said, really good. The only other issue I had is I thought the final fight, the conclusive battle was a little bit left to be lacking. It wasn't as bad as Giant Beam in the Sky issue, but it was in that realm where I was just like, this is just like a video game.
The physicality of it, yeah, but I thought the emotional tones were there.
They throw some things in there that are emotional that I think.
To me, that leads into my last pro. This movie was unapologetically emotional.
Yeah.
And I thought that was its strongest case. Wonder Woman was always feeling these causes and emotions, and she's dealing with people who are jaded. They've gone through this war for so long, and the actual sense of heroism was just like, yes!
Yeah, and it's starving in this DCEU, to be sure, to have a sense of heroism in, surprise, surprise, a superhero movie.
Right.
I agree with you. I would say that the low-key MVP of this movie is Chris Pine, because Chris Pine, there's a tendency when you have a female-driven movie, like a superhero movie, to have him sort of outshine her in a way, but his whole thing in this movie is he is a supporter for her first.
Yep.
He is comedic foil second, and he does his heroic stuff third. He lets her be the main hero. He doesn't try to outshine her in any way. Gal Gadot is front and center.
Yeah, there's no machismo for the sake of machismo. It was okay.
That relationship works phenomenally. She is great. Where do you think this leads her in the DC and the DCEU in total?
She's my favorite in it, period.
Right.
Justice League has a lot to do, is all I have to say. It big shoes to fill now, and it just needs to be good. We can see these characters can be good, not just brooding emos with powers or a lot of money for technology.
Yeah, I mean, this movie did very well. It's the number one movie in the world right now. The highest grossing movie for a female director.
Yep.
$100 million. I don't know if people were expecting that. They should have, but they haven't. So this movie has earned its sequel. It'll be interesting to see where it goes from there. When I hope you have Justice League happens. Justice League was always in the works.
Right.
She'll be great in that.
Yep.
And then just throw away any sort of connectability in the universe and have her just do her own thing. Stay in this very heroic universe, her own universe. Get her away from everything else.
So that is a Gleam team. Go see it.
Yes, definitely. Please go see this movie. It's very good if you haven't seen it already.
Patrick, where can the lovely people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at GleamTeam_Pat1. We have the latest Gleam Team episode is out, so please go look at that. You can like our Facebook page, where you can like our YouTube video. Please comment and like this below. If there's something you want us to review, let us know. We'd be happy to give it a peek. And there's an interesting thing out there. Clay and I have delved into the podcasting world as well. Mm-hmm. So we have a Binge This is the name of the podcast. You can find it right now as a sneak peek on Podbeam while we are going to try to get it onto iTunes. You know, it takes a little bit to get there, but you can kind of get a taste of what it will be on Podbeam if you go to bingethis.podbeam.com. You can find it there. You can download the first 2 episodes. It's basically Clay and I binge material, and we'll tell you if it's worthy to be binged or not.
We'll tell you what to binge, we'll tell you how to binge, we'll maybe tell you when to binge, but we are going through that journey with you.
Right.
So, you can also find me on Twitter at Kovo375, and have a good time seeing the movie.
Yeah. Wonder Woman! You know, I was surprised there was no, Linda Carter references or anything like that. Do you expect that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.